Hello, everybody. This is Stephanie. I'm in team 4, and this is our second presentation, and I'm the connector. So I will be obviously connecting us to some of the things we read about in our readings. A quick overview of what I'm going to kind of talk about. I'll first talk about the connections that I found in the text, and then I'll have some questions for y'all, and then I'll briefly summarize everything I went over. So the first connection, this is over chapter 17 of our reading with Augustine and his excerpt on style specifically. Three things he emphasized a lot. The first three bullet points I have are straight from the text, and then below it are the connections I got. So first he says, do not despise teaching, pleasure, or movement. Strive to be heard with intelligence, pleasure, and ready compliance. And then he kind of critiqued someone in higher power and kind of how they could have done better if they had followed these things. The connection I got from this chapter that I read is how I guess in our specific essays or speeches that we have to give as students, what we say in them matters. So the way you present it, what substance it's made up of, what's in the essay, that kind of thing. So for teaching, adding the attribute of teaching helps when speaking to our fellow peers. So you can write an essay and people can walk away from it, not have learned a thing about it. So teaching is a very important thing. Not all essays are targeted to teach somebody something, but I think that you should be teaching somebody something with everything you write in your essay and that kind of thing. Adding pleasure, I kind of had some synonyms for his word pleasure. I was thinking also it could mean similarities, like being relatable, saying, oh, I have this hobby. Someone can connect with that and they've connected with your topic, or you make it more applicable to their lives. Because you obviously have work and you have pleasure. And so if it's not work related, what are you doing outside of your work, which for us are being students? What kind of pleasure are you seeking outside of the classroom? And so including that in your work can help make it more applicable to people who read it. I took him saying movement as kind of like how the essay flows, and how it connects to the audience specifically. The second connection I had, this is over chapter 19. He talked about tone a lot, and the substance of what the speech is obviously made up of. And so a connection to that is, how if it's a speech, for example, we've all had to take public speaking. If you are giving a speech and everything you say is coming off really, happy and positive, but you're talking about like teen suicide rate. And I only say that because I had to do a speech about that. That was my topic. It's kind of like, are people going to take your issue seriously if you're kind of making a joke about it, or if you're vice versa, if you have a very serious tone, but your topic is more on the light side, it can kind of bring like this dark cloud over everything when it shouldn't be like that. So tone matters. And then obviously what you put in your speech or your essay also matters. You don't want to fill it with a bunch of lies or just a bunch of like, well, that didn't make any sense with what the topic was, that kind of thing. And so I think the tone and the substance of the essay or speech kind of go hand in hand. If one's off, then the other's off, kind of thing. So that is the second one. Connection 3. This is from a different article from the one we were just talking about. This one is the invention and purpose article. Well, it's not an article, you know what I mean. He talked about the authors of the Holy Scriptures, and I made this its own connection because I think that eloquence, I think is how you say that. Eloquence is, so I did include a definition for y'all. Fluent or persuasive speaking or writing. Sometimes it in our work, it needs to have that gentle touch to it of, I kind of think of eloquence as like being elegant, and delicate with certain things and how you word them. I think that's important. Because if you're kind of rough around the edges with a certain topic, it could not be taken well by the audience. And then they could completely shut down to anything else you have to say, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose. The next thing I got, he talked about three things: the subdued, the elegant, and the majestic. The subdued is meaning serving for instruction, elegant is for praise, and the majestic is exhortation. And so the connection I got for this one is that the three examples I just said, they all have the same end goal in mind. And he mentions that in the summary part of this little excerpt, is that they all have the same end goal, and all of them want to present the truth to the listener. So beforehand, we've talked about like what's in the article or speech, how are you presenting it, but now we're getting to like the crust of it. Is it presenting accurate truth? And then this is important in a student's paper so that the listener can understand the truth. So that was something else he said, was that you need to present the truth, but also you need to present it in a way that the listener can understand it. So all of these connections have been very applicable to how we write things and what they need to entail. Because it's easy to just kind of brain dump an essay, like with our epidictic essay, it was about children's stories. So we can easily just be writing, whatever, as long as we fit the guideline. But if you wanted to make it presenting the truth, which obviously was epidictic, so it wasn't, but in other papers we do, you need to present the truth, but then also present it in a way that they can understand it. If you're using big words, like big SAT worthy words, and you're not giving a clear definition, or you're being kind of deceptive with the words because the audience won't understand it, well, then you're not presenting the truth clearly. So yeah, if the truth isn't presented clearly, then your listener is not gonna get much from it, and they'll probably not really want to read anything else you have to say because you're not very clear. The last connection I have is live a life of harmony with his teaching. So that's talking about if you say, I stand by this and this is what I believe, then you need to stick by that, and you need to show it in your everyday life. Don't just write it to write it. Like in the church, it's called like practicing what you preach. Why would I preach something if I don't even believe it myself? And also living in harmony means like being one with it. Like there's no chaos or discord with it. It's all like parallel with each other, I guess. So by doing that, you're showing a good example, and the mode of making known the meaning when it is ascertained, big words, I know. The connection I got, if the writer does not practice what they preach, then their words are in vain. Yeah, like I said before, if you aren't showing that you stick by what you say and you are hypocritical, or you just don't believe it yourself, then it is in vain. Like there is no point of what you just wrote, and your work is kind of for nothing. And no one will listen to any future words that you have to say if the writer doesn't even believe what they have written. Conveying the proper meaning or withholding the truth from the listener is important to show that the writer can be trusted. So if you're presenting the truth accurately and you show that you stick by it and you live your life accordingly, then obviously your listener or your reader can disagree with what you say, and that's fine. But if they agree, then you've kind of made your point, so the first question I have for y'all: what does Augustine mean when he says, do not despise teaching, pleasure, or movement? And again, I kind of talked about that. I feel like if you despise these things, you're not going to get very far with whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, even not just in rhetoric or writing, in life. That if you despise these things, then you're not going to get very far. Second question: how can the tone of a paper affect the message being shared? I also talked about that. The third one, how can you as a writer achieve living in harmony with your own teaching? Quick summary. Augustine has presented many things for writers to think about. One is how we can change the paper's tone, teaching, or message. Another is how we can present our work with eloquence. Lastly, how the writer can present the truth in their writing. Yeah, the overall kind of message, I'd say, from reading all of his thoughts, where you can apply this to your writing, or you can apply it to your everyday life and just how you interact with people. And everything he said, I thought was really good. Good things to think about. Like the questions I asked kind of allude to that as well. But that's all I got. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Bye.